Every teacher loves to speak about their negative experiences in school that drove them to become a teacher. While I did have my fair share of bad school experiences and some not so great teachers, I'm going to choose to speak about some of the great teachers I had who made an impact on my life and helped me decide to become a teacher. I have always struggled in school ever since I was young. Paying attention in class was really hard for me. Doing homework was an extremely difficult task, and when it came to tests, I was a goner. When I discovered the book The Report Card, I saw the cover and I felt relatable, until I read the book and I realized the main character was secretly a child genius. That was not the case with me. The subjects that I felt comfortable in were always reading and writing. I always felt confident in my skills, as I did not in other content areas. In kindergarten, I was put in a reading group because I was already reading picture books at a level that my classmates weren't. A few years later, I ended up being above my grade level in reading, even though I was struggling in most other content areas. When I was in second grade, I had a teacher named Mrs. Kale. She was one of the most popular teachers in the school, always known for being caring and nice to her students and really caring about them and their education. From the moment I stepped into her classroom, I immediately loved school. She always made me feel like she cared about me and wanted me to grow and wanted to help me any way that she could. I was put in a higher reading group that year, and it made me feel really proud. She was the only teacher I had up until that point who actually made me feel smart, and that was a feeling I wasn't used to experiencing in school. Mrs. Kale had us keep a journal throughout the year, where we frequently wrote different poems and stories and our thoughts down. And this is something that I still have. I had forgotten about it till I came across it a few years ago, and I was able to look back and put myself back in my head as a second grader. One of the first things I wrote was the first day of school, which I loved, even though I had usually disliked school in the past, and I accredited it to my teachers. The next teacher I had who stuck out as an amazing educator in my life was my fifth grade teacher, Mrs. Pauker. She had always put a large emphasis on writing throughout the school year, which was one of my strongest skills and something I enjoyed doing. We spent a large portion of the year creating and compiling writings to put in our All About Me book, which I still have 10 years later. We also compiled a poetry anthology of different poems that the entire class had worked hard to create. I remember so vividly writing a poem, working so hard on it, and being proud, thinking I had created something so profound and poetic. Mrs. Pauker constantly praised my writing while correcting me and leading me in the right direction and monitoring my mistakes. I always felt confident in her class, especially when she had us share our assignments with our friends, and I felt proud. I left fifth grade with more than just a book to be proud of my writing. I had self-esteem in school. In seventh grade, I had one of the most phenomenal teachers who really helped shape my writing. Mrs. Fish assigned 2 portfolios throughout the year, one for each term, where we compiled all of our writing from essays, research papers, short stories, poems, book reports, and so on. I can remember handing them in and taking a breath of relief, feeling so happy when I received my high grades and positive comments from my teacher on my rubrics. That year, I was especially proud of my writing. Over the years, I had some more great teachers who really made a difference in my education. Some of my high school teachers invested extra time, spending extra periods with me going over my work, being able to correct my tests, and helping me prepare my essays before I handed them in. My English teachers were especially helpful, seeing my potential in writing and knowing I just needed a little bit of extra assistance. My English paper grades were considerably higher from the first paper I had freshman year to the end of high school. I began to really consider myself a writer when I was in high school. I loved writing short stories that I shared with my friends, and I even began to write a novel. You might notice a pattern in the subjects that my favorite teachers taught: language arts or English. As I mentioned, it had always been my favorite subject in school, and it was the one I was best at. My teachers, starting in second grade and going all throughout high school, even continuing in college, saw how passionate I was about writing. I didn't necessarily have a gift for writing. I had a skill, and it was cultivated and sharpened, and my teachers really saw my potential. I've kept my second grade journal, my fifth grade All About Me book and poetry anthology, and my seventh grade portfolios because I was so proud of them. I've even shared a memoir from my All About Me book in a lesson I taught to fourth graders as a model text. In every classroom, there are students that fit into categories. There are those at the top of the class who understand the information the first time it's given, they always complete their homeworks, their test scores are high, and they never have a problem. Then there are the students who fall somewhere in the middle, sometimes needing extra assistance, but their grades are mostly consistent. Then there are the students who need extra support and additional monitoring. Each and every one of these students, including the ones who fall between those categories, needs a teacher who will make them feel like the smartest kid in the world. School is more than just a means of providing an education. Kids and teenagers spend majority of their time in school, sometimes seeing their teachers more than they see their parents. It becomes a huge part of their lives and impacts them. If they spend the entire day with a teacher who doesn't care about them or doesn't believe in them, it will have a lasting negative impression on their lives. All students, from the one who require multiple explanations to the ones who can practically self-teach, need to be in an environment that is positive and hopeful. They need a teacher who will treat them like she treats her own children. A teacher who will inspire them to work hard and succeed, not just to get good grades so their parents aren't disappointed by their report cards. School does more for students than just shaping their minds. It shapes their hearts. It helps them build character and develop their personalities, and it determines who they will be as an adult. Being a teacher is the most important job. Charles Kuralt says, "Good teachers know how to bring out the best in their students." Some of my teachers were able to identify my strongest skill and encourage me, and they guided me to develop it. Not only did it help strengthen my writing, which helped me be more successful in school throughout the years, it made me feel proud of my work and feel like I accomplished something great. It made me feel smart when I had never been successful in school. This is why I chose to become a teacher. It is a teacher's job to make sure their students are given more than just an education. They're providing them with tools that they need for life, and they need to encourage them and motivate them and play to their strengths. Not just so they can get into college or manage a career, so they can have self-esteem and be proud of everything they accomplish.